Well, we have a treat today. I'd like to invite John and Mackenzie Baldwin, father and daughter, to come and join me here. John's wife and Mackenzie's mother, Stephanie, is here in the pew as well. But these folks are returning to Wilshire today. We're delighted about it, too. Some years ago, I guess when you were pretty little, Mackenzie, they moved up north and moved their membership to a sister church up there. But before they did, they had made an imprint on our hearts and lives here at Wilshire, and were very active in teaching and serving in numerous ways, including, John, part of the book that you and Mackenzie have just written included a remembrance of my carrying you around the sanctuary, dedicating you to the Lord, Mackenzie, and the significance of that day. But you're here today because daughter and father, have written a book called Almost Gone. Copies of it are in the atrium, the South Atrium, and afterward you can get a copy of that. Just been published, Harper and Row?
In November.
Sorry?
Simon Schuster in November.
Simon & Schuster, okay, yes, exactly. Remarkable story, and a scary one. Glad it turned out well. But John, I think it would be helpful if you could just give us a real thumbnail sketch. And I want to mention, too, that after services today, there will be a luncheon where the Baldwins will be, and if you want to know much more, you didn't have to make a reservation. You can just come, and there'll be a lot more conversation about this. But John, give us a sense of what happened.
Okay. Well, it really is a pleasure to be here, George. Thank you for having us. At the end of Mackenzie's junior year at Plano West, she had a great junior year. And then we just started seeing signs that things was not quite right. She was pulling away from her friends. She was pulling away from her family. She even began pulling away from her Christian faith. And for the life of us, we couldn't figure out why. This went on for a year, and with us searching for answers. Answers came right at the end of her senior year, and we had 3 of Mackenzie's friends came to us and said that she's involved with a secret online relationship, and she managed to keep that from us all this time. And she is going to marry a man overseas in Kosovo, and she's going to leave without telling you. And she's going to leave in 25 days. And we had that much time to figure out what to do. It was just enough time for us to get the FBI and with God's help and a lot of people's help. We were able to intervene 3 days before she left the country. And it took us a couple weeks after that for Mackenzie to really come to grips with that she was really being manipulated by a man, and she was able to pull away. And I'm just happy that she is where she is today.
Well, we all are. Mackenzie, this has to be a bit humiliating, looking back on it, right?
Yeah, it used to be, at least.
It used to be.
Well, I mean, I didn't want to talk about it at first, but
I can imagine.
You know, we've been speaking about it for over a year, so it's
Right.
kind of, I'm used to the,
Right.
you know.
But thank you for your courage to be willing to open up about this and deal with it yourself, but also to help others, because I think everybody thinks, oh, that's never going to be able to happen to me, or not to my kid, not to our family, that sort of thing. Tell us a little bit about how you got drawn in, and what to watch for, and how do we learn to live wisely without being overly fearful?
Yeah. Well, we learned a lot in this whole journey, for sure, but one thing that I talk about a lot is that it's important to keep in mind that they're the constant filter. This could be on any online engagement. It could even be gaming, youth game a lot. And so, I mean, any information that you get from this individual is what they've allowed you to know. Uh-huh. And I think a lot of times people forget about that. Mm-hmm. And also, in our book, we talk a lot about the tactics that are used, and it's important to be educated on those tactics, so that way, if you're ever faced with even a predator or somebody that you don't know, and they start kind of doing these red flags, you'll be able to see it and get out. And mostly for the youth as well, I always say that a lot of times that they find it really hard to go forward if their friend's in danger, and they're worried, what if my friend gets mad at me or whatever. But it is okay to breach this confidence if you think that somebody's in danger, because that's the only reason why I'm here today.
Right, because your friends finally said enough. We can't let her get on this plane.
Right, exactly.
Right, exactly. Let me follow up with you just a little bit, okay? Okay, so what would have happened if you'd gotten on that plane, do you think?
We don't really know for sure, and we are hesitant to speculate about it because, sometimes it can get taken in the wrong direction. But Kosovo is 5th in the world for sex slavery and citizenship scam and stuff like that. So the FBI was pretty confident that that was a very most likely scenario, we could say.
Okay, and what would you say when you look back, what made you as vulnerable at that time in your life to something like this?
I think I was very trusting, number one, and pretty naive, but also I say that I don't always necessarily think that the grass is greener on the other side, but I at least have to go look. And that's kind of, and he was very, I always wanted adventure, and he was just very, he lived in Europe, and I thought it was going to be so fun, and so I just always wanted this adventure and kind of doing something that was different.
Which is part of your life in the family too, adventure and doing things together, the dad and daughter thing with the mountain climbing and all the kinds of things you guys did together. John, tell us how important faith has been in helping you and Stephanie and Mackenzie get through all of this. Now, I know, I remember the call very clearly when you called me to ask some questions about things that you were needing help with, because some of this was about being drawn into Islam as well. And Mackenzie had asked for a Quran and was, okay, what do we do about this and that kind of thing. But your faith was deeply tested through all of this. How did it sustain you, and what reflections do you have about that?
Well, it was a test, and the day I called you was one of those tests, but God, it's really funny you mentioned that, because driving home I was so desperate, and I just thought about you and all the work you do, and you were a great help to me that day, and I really appreciated that. I was on I-20 in Shreveport and pulled over and talked to you for an hour, and I really appreciate it. It means a lot to me. My test, my faith was highly tested, and I wish I could tell you that it was strong and unwavering throughout that whole time, but it really wasn't. I couldn't understand what was happening, and I was trying to fix it myself, but God put the right people at the right time to say the right things that I needed to sustain me. And when I felt like that my faith slipped, He provided the right help that I needed, and for Stephanie as well. And He did that through people. And there's one thing I really learned from this, is that God works through people, and I never realized that as much as I did after this year. Mackenzie's friends came forward with great courage to say something that we were able to save her. We had friends and family that sustained us, a phone call from George, or with a word of encouragement or advice. And we had people that we didn't even know, that had no vested interest in us at all, that would step in and did great things to help her. And all this built a chain of big things and little things. And we needed every single link of that chain. And it's not anything that I could have ever orchestrated myself or envisioned, but God could, and He did it for a purpose. And since then, I think my faith has greatly been enhanced from the experience.
Wonderful. Mackenzie, do you have a thought about it?
Well, before all this happened, I've always been in my faith somebody who wants proof, and we all know that a lot about faith is that you don't always have that proof right in front of your face. But I really feel like God saved my physical life and my spiritual life, and for me that's the proof. So now that's that kind of proof that I always wanted. And He's opened like a completely different path to my life. I wanted to train animals for the longest time, and now I get to speak to a ton of youth, and sometimes I really impact their life, and I'm able to be a mentor for them. And I never thought that's what I was going to do, but God works in amazing ways and
Right.
completely changed my whole path of my life. But I couldn't have asked for more.
Wow, beautiful. The psalmist just spoke about how you've searched me and known me. No matter where you are, I'm with you. And so I think we're remembering that especially because of you. And Mackenzie, by the way, is going to speak to the youth in Sunday school today. So we're taking advantage of everything we can with you today. Anyway, thank you so much, and welcome back to Wilshire. And we pray that lots of people are helped by the book, too.
Thank you very much.
Okay.